Hello and welcome to the top of the world. I've been working for the last 2 days and I thought I'd better start filming because I've got to some important points that probably should be shared. Some of you might find interesting. Porch, right? We've got this big porch to build and I have a problem with what the customer wants or what the customer can afford. So it has to have a roof on it. For every reason that you can possibly think of. There's no good reason at all not to put the roof back on it. It's always had a porch. Anyway, he can't afford to do the whole porch. So he said, can we have a small one over the front door? Well, of course we can. We can have whatever we want. Anyway, so I've drawn it up and then I'm like, right, well, now I've drawn it up and I've done the calculation on the snow loading. How then do I make that structure secure, and how then do I join onto it when he wants the rest of it done? And he will have the rest of it done. And how do I do it while it looks good? And there's several factors here. There's the structural factor, there's the financial factor, and then there's the visual factor. Well, this house is on the road that runs between the two villages, and it's my work. Okay, that's a big thing for me. That is, I've done a lot of work, and all of it amazing compared to what's already here. Oh, I can't help but say that. I can't help but say that. So then I'm looking at then how, once I've built this individual porch over the door, how I add to both sides and make it all, and I can't do it. So then in my head I did a calculation of, whilst I'm machining what I need for this small section, how much extra does it take to machine everything I need for the entire porch? And then what do I do about the front beam, the structural beam, the beam that takes all the weight? So the back of their porch is connected to the house, and therefore the loading is going straight down through that wall and straight onto the foundations of the cellar. But the lee side, the road side, this is all coming down onto those concrete tubes. And there's only 5 of them. So once I've done the snow loading calculation on the roof, which in this area is 3 kilonewtons per square metre, well, I have to allow 5 because I'm changing the pitch from the main roof to the porch. Don't glaze over yet, just bear with me. So the pitch on this particular house is quite steep and the snow sheds regularly because of its steepness. When you've got a double pitched roof, the snow doesn't shed as well as it should. So now it sits on the main roof and on the porch, turning your potential calculations into 5 kilonewtons per square metre. That's what I've agreed to myself to allow. I'm going to allow almost double, right, what you need to allow here. And then when you calculate that up, you get the front beam and the spread of the weight on the front beam, and you can calculate the size of the front beam. Done that? Right. How it would have been done here is you would have got 3 6-inch 6x2s and you'd have screwed them all together. Right, that's rubbish. I'm not doing that. So I've made a solid beam, albeit it's in 2 parts at the moment. Now I've got to transfer the weight from this front beam down through those concrete pillars in the floor, which no snow loading was ever done on that decking, I can assure you of that. So we can't put any weight on the decking, we've got to put all the weight and transfer all the weight down through these 5 pillars, which means I can only have 5 front beams. Now this is another problem, because the snow loading transfer from above to below has to be transferred to only 5 places. That means that gives me the calculation of size beam I need to transfer the weight from above to the ring beam, which is directly sat on top of those 5 columns. Once you've done all those calculations, you've got your minimum size of ring beam at the front, rafters across, posts and direct transfer and ground plate to the concrete posts into the ground. And the other thing I want to bear in mind here is there's no lateral support on that porch base. All right, so maybe those concrete posts, because they're in steel tubes, will take up any lateral forces. Once I've taken all that into consideration, I've got my forces front and back, and I've taken my wind loading into consideration, which is minimal because there's no solid wall. So any lateral wind loading is minimal on this. Okay, we've got some rise depending on the direction or the predominant direction of the wind. Now I'm filming. Stop. And you make me lose my train of thought. Anyway, so I've done all these calculations, which is not something that's normally done here. It certainly wasn't done then. The commune, the council, the municipal, they know about snow loadings, and they'll tell you what the snow loadings are. But what I'm doing is I'm replacing what was there, and I'm starting with the base that was there, albeit we've uprated it. So, unseen to you, I have machined, from my calculations, all the rafters. Already done. They're not, this one's cut, right, and all of those have to be cut to the right angles. And there's my ground plates. These are the plates that are going across the ring beam to sit the posts on. These posts I've got here, and this is what changes the look of the building, are 1.5 times the size that I need to transfer the load from the beam to the floor. So I have these posts, which are way too big, and are 1.5 times the calculated size I need. So we have posts. And what I did was I phoned the owner and I said, what do you want the porch to look like? Because I can build in any style. Doesn't matter what the style is, I can build it. And I gave him the options, and then we talked about colour. So what we're essentially going for is a cabin look porch that is stained. Not a square one that is painted, not an uber modern one. Old style porch that makes a cabin look like a cabin. So we're going to use these posts instead of square posts. Where was I going with all this? You know, we're in our second day of continuous rain, which is why everything's loaded inside, because obviously this is all dry timber. Right. So we have the beam inside. Not quite sure where I am. Okay. So I've cut both ends, and then I've measured a halfway mark. These lines represent the halfway mark. So this whole area here is the size of my splice. And there is a post right in the centre. So under this mark here, there is a post going. So I'll do a halving joint here, connect these two posts together, and then I'm going to roll them on their side, and then I'm going to do the floor plate to the same length with the joins, and then I'm going to mark up where the posts go. Yeah, so the first thing to do is make the end square on the two posts and do a halving joint here. I think I'm going to do a halving joint. I could do a large mortise and tenon here, but there is a post going right underneath the centre point. Anyway, that's where I'm up to. Snow loading calculations done, timber size is done, and this was all because, I'm sure, I don't know, I can't remember now, I've just had to deal with something else. The point about this was the trouble I'm going to have making all this work. So I have elected off my own back to put a full length wall plate, a full length front beam and all the posts in, and all the rafters. And then it's about, have I got all these costs covered? No, I haven't. Is this my own timber? Yeah, it is. So I'm kind of ahead of the game. If I was relying on doing the job, on getting the customer to pay me so I could buy the wood from the store, I couldn't do this. It just wouldn't happen. And he doesn't have the money to do it. So you kind of got to weigh up the entire situation when you're doing a job like this, and then make an informed decision. I've made an informed decision that this is the right way to go, albeit it's not what has been agreed on the basis that the funds are not available to do this right at the moment. So I'm going to have to, anyway, this is the right way to do it, but because for the sake of the integrity and the loadability of this new roof that's got to go on eventually, I have to do it like this so that I can make it structurally sound, albeit we're only putting a roof over the door for the moment. Anyway, that was a boring start to the video. Let's do some woodwork. You have to, because my hair. What hair? Is he sad and bored because he's had to spend 2 days inside? Where's your ball? He's got his ball. Look, with the ball. He's got his ball, but we can't do nothing with it. Can we? No, because you have to. It's raining. Okay, that's the entire beam assembled and put together. I've sanded the underside, which is that face, and the inside, which is that face. And then I've rounded the corner. I've done a halving joint right in the centre there, and my centre post is going to sit right underneath there. This beam has got bluing in it. It just has. There's just nothing I could do about that. You know, I had to pick the straightest and the best beams, and yeah, did I know that was blue like that inside till I cut it open? No. Anyway, the staining will even that out. Okay, so that is the entire front beam. Now what I'm going to do is roll that over, and I've got to notch the top face for the rafters where they're going to sit through, but I'm going to essentially mark this up now, and then I'm going to take the bottom plates, these, and cut and join those in to the same length as this, and then I can mark post positions. Once I've marked post positions, I can mark rafter positions, and I can make the positioning for the posts, and then we can choose our posts from what we have here and cut them to length. And so another day has passed. It's quite early. I couldn't finish this last night. My shoulder is just, you know, chiseling and sawing, and oh man, the basic things. I have enough trouble lifting up a jug of coffee. Anyway, so where have we got to? Well, this is the top of the beam that you can see. This is the inside edge, which has been cleaned up and sanded down. I've put a round on the bottom, and underneath is cleaned up and sanded. I've notched in every single rafter, marked up for the posts. Post number 5. The floor plate is also all cut, notched and marked up. And I've written on it to make sure I know where I am. Did you cut every one of those in by hand and then chisel it out, Simon? Yes, I did. And then the rafters will come through and sit like this. Now, is that the way it's traditionally done? Yes, that's exactly the way it's traditionally done. Is that the way that that is done in more recent years? No, it isn't. What would normally happen is the rafter would just sit on top like this as it came through, and you'd put upstands between the rafters. If you were closing the building, you would put upstand between the rafters. If you weren't closing the building, you would literally tosh the rafter in like that. Now, there's a problem with that, and that's this. Traditionally, real artisans in their craft notched the rafters into the ring beams. does away with any lateral moves. Right, I can't move that side to side. That's going to snap before I can move that. Also, I can secure it better. It gives a much nicer finish on the inside than the big gap that you get, and so on and so forth. There's no downside except time, skill and effort to doing this. And I haven't done it deep because I don't want to lose the integrity of the beam, which I won't do if I make my slots tight, because if there's any give in the beam, it can't give because you've got a rafter there. So, you know, if you're going to do that, you want to make sure, ideally, they're either exceedingly tight or too tight. Some of these are, I'm going to have to hammer them in to finish them off. So, and that's good. That keeps the integrity of the beam. It also makes for fast installation. So as somebody that's owned a huge manufacturing and construction company, I can tell you all your time and money is lost on site. All of your time and money is lost on site. And mistakes. Do I even want to go there? Right. Let me tell you a story. The island of Jersey. It has a restricted length of traffic on the island of Jersey. I was commissioned to build a large orangery on the back of a large house in Jersey, and we had to make up a huge flitch beam that forms up part of the roof. And then we had to get special permission and pay for a special licence for this truck carrying this beam to go on a ferry to Jersey, and then it had to have a police escort, and we had to pay extra money to get this beam to the premises. This beam was delivered at the premises. My own trained installation team turned up and started the construction of the building. When it came time to move the beam, they couldn't manoeuvre it in the way they wanted it to. So, in their wisdom, they cut it in half. That mistake cost me £35,000. Right. And it goes on and on and on and on. I could tell you stories, make your hair stand up on end, about where mistakes and time is lost on site. So, is it much better for me to assemble this beam in a controlled environment with all the information and the skills available to me to make this up here so I can take it to site, sit it on top of the posts, and everything slot together? Yeah. Am I expecting installation of the main structure to take any more than a day? No. I've spent 3 days just in there prepping what I've got prepped, and I'm not ready yet. So all that time can be lost on site with inclement weather and. So if you're building a project, if you can make it inside and put it together and do all the things you've got to do. So my early history, the first buildings I was manufacturing and installing were log cabins. And we used to build them at the factory and then take them down, load them onto a lorry, and then I used to go out to site and put them up. And does that do away with a lot of the mistakes? Well, yeah, because you can get over and under everything in the factory. Anyway, I'm going on and rabbiting. That's what they call it, rabbiting. You know that, especially when my sound goes bad. Anyway, so what have I got left to do now? Well, this is having a cover plate on the lower half. So I've literally got to sand a strip now down through here and disassemble the beam. I've got to put some holes in the top there, ready to accommodate the bolts to go through to sit on top of the posts. So I've cut the posts to the correct length. These are the main posts. There's 5 of them. I've got work to do on these. And then in between these posts, so there's a post, and then the other one's down there. And in between the posts, there'll be short ones for the balustrading. So that's the main beam. We'll do a bit of sanding and then get that out ready to go to site. The floor plate's ready to go to site. Then we're going to work on the beams, and we're going to get the beams ready to go to site. And then last but by no means least, we're going to cut all the rafters and put all the birds' mouths on them, put the angles on the end, and then away we go. Now, there is a caveat to that. I've got to tell you, in the years now I've been working here, there isn't a single wall, floor, deck, rafter or roof that is square or level in any way whatsoever. I can't even tell you how far out of level and square every building and every part of the building is here, and there's two reasons for that. One is ground movement, and the second is workmanship. So, these buildings were literally thrown up more often than not by the villagers themselves, and then they've been modernised and adapted over years. So, when I think about the resources they had available to them here in this particular region, they actually did all right. But, so, my porch, my rafters, my ring beams, my post is all going up square and level, and it will have to fit where it fits to the deck and the building if they are out of square, because I have tried adapting what I'm doing to the out of square, out of level, and you just have to ignore it. So you just build. Do you know? I came across this. I built this. Anyway, I built this unit to go into a house, put it into the house, and it was awful. It wobbled on the floor. It wasn't squared to the corner, and it wasn't level. And I'm scratching my head thinking, well, how have I made so many mistakes to making this thing? The item that I made was here, and then I transferred it to the building, and it went. That was the first time that I realised that the corners weren't square and the walls weren't level, upright, you know, and the floor wasn't even... Anyway, there you go. Right, so let's sand this strip along here, get this out, and then start working on the posts. So that's the angle cut put on all the rafters. Now I've just got to cut out the bird's mouth. And I used to be able to do such things on bandsaws, but you need tables, and I had all that set up years ago. I'm going to do these by hand because that's how I'm going to do it. So this is what I need on the end, and all the rest are cut and marked out. So now I'll just go through all of these, cut out the bird's mouth, stack them on the trolley, ready to go. Did I just do exactly what I said I couldn't do or wouldn't do? Yeah, I did. Because I did one and I remembered why. I always set up these jigs. When you're doing repetitive work, if you set up a jig on a saw, you know, or you set a saw or you set stops, it's so that you can do repetitive items that are all exactly the same. And I cut one by hand and then measured it against my master rafter, and it wasn't accurate enough. It was out. So I thought, right, well, I'll set up the jig on this, and there's a reason for that. My pencil lines are pencil lines. Are my pencil lines accurate? Well, no, because I'm not. I'm just copying the master rafter. When you set a jig up to the master rafter, it's kind of irrelevant other than the guideline what the pencil lines are. And I'll show you what I mean. So we set the saw up with the fence, and I've got the angle marked over here and the stop, so that every one of my cuts is exactly the same depth, and every one of my start points is exactly the same distance. Perfect. Okay. Not bad. Not bad. Not bad. Perfect. You wrong? Yeah, not bad. Not bad. Perfect. Yeah, not bad. Oh, ah. So on a couple of them, the pencil lines were so accurate, the blade took out the pencil line. But on many of them, they weren't. And that's because the master rafter weren't properly lined up on the... That's because we were going for this cut, and this cut was but a pencil mark. So the master rafter is this one that actually went to site and got made on site, fitted on site with a small piece of wall plate I screwed up on the wall, and then mocked my posts, my distance, and levelled it in every direction, and then made this rafter so that I could make the rest to it. This was my hand cut. I broke out all the edge in here. It means I've now got to resam that. The angle's not right, and it just wasn't good. So now I'll keep going through these processes. Every one of these cuts is exactly right, in the right place, exactly the right length. Now all I've got to do is work out the best way of getting this accurate cut based on the distance from there to there, not on my pencil lines. So the bottom one's the master rafter, and the top one is the one I've just cut. So we're good to go. I really thought that was going to hit the concrete and it was going to be another expensive day. Rafters, floor plate, beam. Now we're on to posts, posts. Lots of room for activities. I can put all of that on there. Then I can enjoy the nice slow trundle down through the village on a Sunday, upsetting everybody. And then I've got two options when I get to the other end. I could gently use the crane and lift it all off, or I could slide it all off and stack it. And when I'm going to get the big beams up, because normally I have to do it by myself, well, I don't need to, because I've got a crane that will lift the big beams up and twist them round and manoeuvre them exactly precisely where I want them and lower them down. It will, because it's a crane, obviously, even hold them in position while I fix them off. So, all of those problems are solved with one piece of machinery, which obviously I knew I had because I'm standing there contemplating looking at it. Look at that. Anybody would think it was made for 5 and 6 metre lengths, wouldn't they? That's that done. Now what I don't want to do is grab anything with the crane, because it's going to mark everything. So, or maybe these, because they're not finished, I can hook it round the back of that. Let's try that. My task was to make sure I hit as many things as I could. I just scored 10 out of 10. Right, that didn't go well. That's what happens when you... Anyway, it doesn't matter how it happens, Right. First time I've seen the decking since I did it. Look at that. It's come up all right. Bit of stain on that. plenty of oil. Be perfect. Oh, let's unload this. I put the rafters on the floor there out the way. So those that couldn't understand what I was doing when I was in the shop, there's the beam. Right, that beam goes at the front here on top of these posts. That beam. And then the wall plate fixes up there and the rafters run from here down to the beam. It's the ground plate, so that runs like that all the way through the front. Posts secure to the underside of this, and then we stand them up. And then this that I put on the front's got to come off, and then this is going on. That goes on there, and then the base plate, then the posts, and then the beams. Monday morning, I went to town early this morning, and I got the roof tin and the plastic, and then I've done something I probably shouldn't have done. Anyway, so I've been working for about an hour now. I've got the wall plate all the way along the top, as you can see, and then I discovered that when the old porch come down, it tried to rip the front off the building. Is that... No, it isn't. Does that mean all my rafters are cut to length? They're all going to be like this? Yes, they are. In the middle, they're going to bow out. They're going to have to be recut. Oh. Like I say, nothing's square, nothing's upright, it's all... So, good job I didn't burst bird's mouth this end, which I was reluctant to do, to allow for this. And then, of course, I've got to re-slice the end of the rafters. So I've got the sub plate on, and now I've got the base plate. The base plate is where the posts are going to be connected to. Now I'm going to roll the base plate on its side, and I'm going to line up the posts with the marks on the base plate and the marks on the beam, and then I'm going to fix them underneath. Okay, so we've laid them out now. So there's my base plate mark, centre of the beam, and you can see at the other end there's a pencil line there. Post 4, beam. You see where it intersects, you can see a hole. That's for the main bolt going down. Centre post there, dead in the centre of the join, and underneath the rafter. Post number 2, again with the line and the hole, and then the final one, post number 1, left out in line there. Right, that's all of them fixed. Now what I'm going to do is cover that lot in a thick coating of oil, and I'm ready to stand them up, I think. I didn't set this end post back like the rest. So I've set the post directly over the beam, which means they sit inbound of this base plate all the way down. This gap here. Right, so I'm going to have to lay that one back down, take that base plate off, readjust, put it back on, stand it back up. Otherwise, it's gone quite smoothly, I think you'll agree. We're ready for that back beam now. And in a normal world, there'd be a couple of men here with ladders, we'd have had them on already, up, screwed off, done. Anyway, let's just rectify that mistake. Oh, that's a good start point. Make sure our posts are in line before we even think about putting the top beam on. Oh, we finished with the posts at the bottom. Oh yeah, for sure. Okay, I'm sure that makes sense to a lot of you. There we go. The posts is what's important, and they're in line. They're not in line at the top, obviously, because they're slightly flexible, but they're up. So, and they're marked up the middles because in between each one of these is going to be a shorter one that the ballast rail is going to sit on, and then 2 down the side there, and then 2 over that side. Okay, I think now we need to go and get a tool to put those beams up. very nice. I like it. I like it a lot. Right, that's got the structure stable and square and upright. So the two end rafters, they fitted as they should do. The middle one didn't because of this huge belly in the house. Anyway, I'll show you what I mean. So rafter's got a finish on the edge of the beam, like that. Right, perfect. That's how I want it. That's how it's designed, and that one doesn't. Now, why the rafters not overhanging the beam, Simon? I knew that was going to be an issue. Okay, so here's the balancing of design and finances. I originally costed this with a 3.5 metre, just anyway, stick with me, a 3.5 metre, 3.5 foot, 3.5 metre roof. However, the difference between 3 metres and 3.5 metres in cost of tin plate is huge. And that would have left me with a huge overhang, as in 0.5 metre overhang, 2.5 feet. So there's 3 metres to a feet. 3.3 feet to a metre. Fucking hell. Right. Anyway, so I can do this with a 3 metre sheet, but I can't go all the way back to here, and I can't have a huge overhang. So I'm going to make up the front with a fascia and soffit board, and then put my my battens across, and the tin's going to come over the edge by 4 inches. And then what I'll do is I'll close off that soffit on the way back, and that way I only need 3 metre sheets. Did I get some plastic? Yeah. I've got 3 plastic sheets, 2 for over the kitchen, 1 for over the hall front door stroke bathroom. Okay, that is 3 up, that's holding it all together. I'm going to take the tractor back and get the van and get my dog. Ah, easy, right? Did I get achieved what I wanted to today? Well, what I wanted to achieve today was go to town early, get on my roofing plate, get back and get the structure up and use all my timber. Done that. There's my materials, and I also got all the oil for the decking and the structure this morning, and there's the structure up. Done, screwed off. So these 2 were the bits of board that were on the front there, which I took off and put a larger packing plate along the bottom there under my base plate. That, what's that the off cut off of? Oh, the underneath. Right, that, yep. Otherwise I've used everything. So now I've got to go back and I've got to make my battens for the tin, which have got to be 40 by 70, what's that, 1.5 by 4, and then make up all my posts for the handrails for the balustrading. I don't like getting covered in sawdust to this extent first thing in the morning, because you have to live with it all day, especially as today's forecast to be hot. Okay, so last night I went back and I ran the sawmill and I cut up all the battens, which are there. They're the reefing battens, and you can see in the back of the van the balustrading logs, bottom sections are cut. I have now just cut all the rafters level with the beam. Alright, so we're all cleaned off there. Now, my ideas was to put the reefing battens on and then to stain the entire structure and the deck, and then put the roof on. They've been forecasting heavy rain for tomorrow for a while. The amount of rain has changed very slightly, but it could be an awful lot of rain. So if I spray all this and fail to get the roof on and the rain comes, it will have an effect on the oil drying on the wood, and it will mark it. And anybody that's experienced that knows once it's done, you're unable to do it. So my plan is to put the reefing battens on and put the roof on. All right, that way now the rain is kept off of the wood and the deck, and then give it a day or two to dry and then stain it, which means potentially I've got to stain by hand. Or at least the upper part. The deck I can still spray, but of course when it's exposed like this, you can just spray. When it's got the reef on, you can't. Anyway, that's how it is. So, roofing battens. Alright, that's now ready for tin. You know, all the way along I knew I was going to do it like this, but I can assure you it's not my preferred way of doing it. I'd much rather put a solid roof on it. I don't like this battens and then seeing the tin. I never have. It's done everywhere here, and I've never done it before. Out of all the wooden houses, wooden cabins, log cabins, porches I've built, and I built a lot of structures over the years, and I've never built them like this. They always have a solid roof. I've done several here with a solid roof. Right, so ready for the roof. So you've seen me build these before, where once I've got the first batten up, I'm up there, and yeah, I elected to do from the ladder, probably because the drop's larger, and the other issue I have without going on about it is my shoulder means I haven't got the instant fire out grip, hold your own weight power that I have. Am I a little fatter than I have been? Oh yeah, I am. With that instant rush of adrenaline, can I do what I could do 20 years ago? No problem, no problem. Yeah, but with a lame shoulder, it's one of the scary things about being up there. If you damage your hand or, you know, an upper body limb, you haven't got that, or I'm slipping, but this is what I do about it. Anyway, we have to go up there because we've got to put the tin on. Wow, looks good from a distance. When I was putting the roof on, I kept having these weird anomalies with squareness, and I couldn't work it out. So I squared the first rafter, and the beam's squared to the house. Well, the beam's parallel to the house, and I couldn't work out what, and I wasn't looking until my roof sheets are not lining up. Then I look at the main roof, And I don't know if you can tell from here. So one of those sheets, that's the same length. It's longer here and it's really short up there, and they've kind of cut the corners to compensate. Did they build the frame of the house square? No. All that means is that the ridge is not square to the cellar. It's not square to the base. The whole house is out square, and my roof sheets were running out. I've got an idea how to solve the problem. I know how to solve the problem. Now is I'm going to put a metal kick down underneath those sheets on top of the roof, like a little L metal, and that will solve some of the problem. Have I got a run out on the front? Yeah, I have. So the house is out of square by 100mm. So I start 100mm here, and I'm 200mm down there, 4" or 8", and I've been trying to pull it back as I'm going. So when they built the roof out of square to the house, and what they did with the tin is they cut the tin to compensate. But that means you can see my run out, and my biggest run out is on the plastic sheet because I can cut that back. I've tried to wiggle the sheets the best I can to take most of it out. So you can see the tin sheet, the old tin sheet at this end, runs over by 50mm. It runs over by 150mm. So I knew we was always going to be tight on our overhang because we've gone to 3 metre sheets. What they did last time is they had 3.5 metre sheets that they cut down to 3.2 metre. Anyway, what does that mean in practical terms? It means, you see the gap? You've got a gap there, and you've got no gap here. So I know how to get over that and what to get over that with. Otherwise, do these extra plastic sheets let through enough light? Yeah, they do. There's the same amount of light in the kitchen as there was before, which he said his mother always complained it was dark. But if we twiddle these, you can see right outside is the plastic, and the kitchen is definitely not dark. So the next job to do was to stain this. However, have I run out of time? Not really, but yes and no. So the pressing issue I've got is it's Tuesday afternoon. I've got owners arriving at the end of this week, and it's going to rain tonight, big styly, tomorrow. So this is covered. Have I fixed all of that? Yep, all the way down. It's now completely covered. You can see this bit's covered here. I've got a bent bit of tin ridge, and it's all completely enclosed in, which does away with that. Oh my God, it's not level. Straight, square. Okay, so I'm going to have to leave this now, which is a shame, because I really wanted to get some staining on this before it gets wet. Which means if it rains tomorrow, I can't get back on it till Thursday straight Friday, which is when I've got owners arriving, and I need to get their water on, and I need to get their grass cut before it rains. The reason for this being is the last few cuts I've done after it's rained, and it's a mess, and you can... Anyway, that's it. So, I've got as far as I wanted. I could go all the way, or I could stop now and go and do that. And the reason I say that is because the owners here are coming a week after everybody else, so they're not due here for a week and a half, which gives me plenty of time to finish this. Right, let's go grass cutting. Time watching this, you'd have seen the milky coating gone clear, I want to show you something. This is the second coat on the stairs. You see how that's gone completely white and how even it is? That's because it's the second coat. There's the first coat, quite patchy. Second coat, so it's absorbing the oil real fast. And it has a colour in it. You can tell it's got a colour in it because this was bright white. But it's just got a hint of a colour in it for now. And the reason for that is you always better get a lighter and add than go too dark and it be wrong. And since the customer wants stained but not quite sure where, and I would like the look brighter than darker, I think, it's better to add multiple coats and just add a small amount of colour pigment into what it is you're doing on the first coat. It's just a personal preference. Anyway, most of the milky stuff has turned into this nice colour there, so it'll all start to match in. The deck, well, that's just, obviously, as we all know, soaking it up. Look at that. So I'm going to have a cup of coffee and give this, I don't know, half an hour, maybe an hour, and then apply the second coat to the deck. Everything else has just had one coat for the minute, except the stairs, which has had two coats. So I'll start bringing it all together. Haven't done any of the internals. Let's hope the rain holds off, eh? It's not looking too promising, is it? Alright, well, I've opted not to do a second coat today because I can feel it in the air. Anyway, I want to give it half a chance to dry. It's soaked in nicely, so that's a full 25 litres, 5 gallons that's consumed just for the little outside face, but mainly on the deck. So, mate, get down. I'll come back tomorrow and do another coat. That's starting to even it all out. He's confused. And yeah, it's got oil on it. It's no good for your feet. Well, it's probably actually very good for your feet. Okay, what have you missed? The making of the fascia in the factory. I figured you'd seen enough time. And then I forgot, for whatever reason, to put the camera on this morning. So I've put on the bottom fascia and the soffit at the top, all the way along, nice wide one, covered up all that mess. Now, I've made up these, which are the tops for the balustrading. Nice, big, heavy ones. And I'm just going to work out how I want to install them. I had an idea, but I've kind of changed my idea now I'm standing here. So, we're just going to have a little measure up and see how best I want to do this, I think. I'm stuck with the lesser of two evils. Do I fill the gap in or do I leave the gap? Under normal circumstances, obviously you would fill the gap in and you would do the joins so you can't see them. But there's probably 30-40 minutes per post. Not sure. Not sure at all. Okay. The storm's coming, look. I know it's coming. It's forecast. Right on cue. I've just seen the first spots of rain. So that's starting to come together. I like it. I do like it. It needs something to make it pretty now. Nice bit of lattice at the bottom, I think. But yeah, it needs some decorative stuff, and I've still got to do the ends, but it's going to rain soon. That is my Sunday done with. Yesterday got completely destroyed because of the weather, and I actually went and cut some grass in between storms. Didn't look very good, but it's cut. Right. Okay, we'll be back here tomorrow morning. I just climbed in the van, and there's the first spots of rain on the windscreen. 5 minutes later. Right, I haven't done much filming the last 2 days. Yesterday was a mad rush to get done what I had to get done before the rain came. This morning, Casper decided it was time to get up. Do I have a clock in my bedroom? No, it's broken. So I just get up when he gets me up, and it felt early. It felt like I hadn't had enough sleep. Anyway, so we'd prepped everything we needed to prep this morning, gone and done all the chickens and all the regular stuff we do, and we were still here at 6:10, which probably means he got me up about 4:30. Right, so it's not going to rain till late this evening, so I've put on the fascias, both ends. I've put on the retaining rafter. Am I going to close the gables? Eventually. Not at the moment. I'm not going to close the gables, but I am going to close the gables. And then I've given everything a second-hand coat to blend it all together. So now it's all blended. Everything has 2 coats except the deck. That's the last thing to be done, and then we'll do it. So we've got our balustrading all the way around. Again, we're going to close off this gable, and yeah, there we go. So what does that look like? Yeah, I think it's come together all right. It's not the best porch in the world, but it's a nice one, and more importantly, it's strong and it's finished. Now, if that were me, I would log that cabin, that house. I would. And sit over there with my rocking chair and my Barbie and my Pew Pew, and God help anybody that makes a bad day for me. That's what I'd do. Anyway. Right, so, second coat on the deck. I've done a small section earlier to see what it looked like. And that's the small section. That board there with 2 coats on. So that should be the final thing then. And I know some of you guessed that my secret ingredient was used engine oil. No, it's just my opinion, but used engine oil has no place in an environment like this. And all my used engine oil and all my used hydraulic oil and all my used oil goes in my chainsaw. So you'll notice it's got, the second coat's got quite a nice sheen to it. So I'll show you my secret ingredient. Is that. Okay, this is pronounced Sherilyn. It's Norwegian. It's a stain. It's about $170. 170 pounds. It's over $200 for 2.7 litres. It's not even 3 litres. 2.7 litres. Is it the best stuff? Yeah, by a long way. But it is also the most expensive stuff. And what I've done is I mixed that in with all the other oils. So we've got 3 different oils, a penetrating compound, and then to give it the final sheen and the pigment, the colour, it's that. And I use that in light or dark. So I have 2 colours that I prefer, and I stick with those 2 colours, and I'll call them dark and light. They're not, they're shades. You know, you can have it any colour. Anyway, so let's give the deck its second coat and the stairs its second coat, and we're done with this. What else did I not film? I didn't film the installation of the washing machine, For those of you who have a washing machine in the laundry room, don't judge. Washing machines go in the shower room here in Sweden, mainly. Okay, spanking new washing machine. So we've had the water switched on for 3 weeks now. Just in case anybody's wondering. 3 weeks. And it just turns on and switches off. And for those that you don't know, there's a series of videos on restoring a deep well, which is this well out here. And last year, for the first time, 1990, actually, that was drained down, and we pulled out, there's the well, we pulled out a big old pump, put in a new pump actually in the bottom of the well, renewed all the pipe work. We didn't renew the pipe work underground, thankfully, and then we run new plumbing. Anyway, there's a series on deep well. I think, why are there footprints in there? I don't know, because it's not wet. Oh, the grass is wet. Right, okay. Otherwise, I've just walked in wet stain, but I haven't sprayed the deck yet, so that hasn't happened, because that would give me a very bad day. Right, let's spray the deck, and then we can go on to other things today. And I've got a little project for a young lady that I'm doing. The very young lady that's coming to stay here with her dad. And she needs something, so I'm going to finish this deck, and then go back and carry on that. Right, spray the deck then. You don't need me. You've seen the first cut. I'll show you when I've done it. Oh, here comes the rain. It's not going to rain. It's not raining. Right, it's still blue sky. It's not raining. It's fine. Everything's fine. And there you have it, another one done. Much better view out the door, I think you'll agree. It's my concluding part. Homeowners due here in 48 hours. I've just put the heating tank on. I've delivered the said gift, as requested, by a young lady that's going to learn to ride 2 wheels this summer. And she wanted a blue bike, so I've built her a blue bike. Very fine, I think you'll agree. I'm sure she'll be very happy with it. Cleaned the fire, cleaned in here, bathroom's ready to go. We're all done in there with the new washing machine and the shower, and everything's working. All very good. Kitchen's now cleaned. Everything works in here. All the instruction manuals for the new washing machine, the stove or the spiss, and the fridge and freezer, all installed, cleaned, down to temperature. There was one other request the homeowner had, and he needs some bicycles for his holiday. So I've delivered the said bicycles, pumped up all the tyres, checked all the brakes work, finished out here, second coat on the deck, put a nice sheen on it. Look at that. How awesome did that come up? And we are concluded on this project for the time being. And that's it. Thank you all for watching. We'll catch you on the next one. Bye for now.